Happy Monday. I am sitting outside enjoying the little oasis I have going on here at our staycation holiday home. I'm just going to quickly check to see if we're live. If you can hear me, please let me know if you are watching and you can hear me. If you can see me. Oh, there we go. Good to go. All right, so I am solo this week, just as Christina was last week. You know, we decide when we're going to go big. We're going to go big in style. Last week I moved. This week she's moving, or this weekend she moved, and their internet is still being hooked up as we speak. So I'm going a solo today, and we're going to talk about modifications, limitations, and movement. And the reason that this is so true and dear to my heart is because I hear a lot of people often talk about how they can't do this or they can't do that because of certain limitations they have, certain body concerns that they have. Sorry, something just fell on me. And I want to really release that myth altogether and kind of talk to you guys a little bit about what that looks like, but also give you some real live demonstrations, some tips and tricks on things that come to with modifications and limitations. Hi, Rosie. Thank you. So first of all, guys, I'm Lindsay. If you don't know me, I don't know where you've been. Welcome to our business page. Every Monday, we do these coffee chats. Usually it's Christina and myself together. Today, it's just myself, and I'm going to talk a little bit about modifications and limitations. So please grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. I'm going to go over some information. I did have a few people send some questions in that I'm going to specifically talk about. If you have your own limitations or need modifications, definitely, if you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag replay and add your question in there. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Now, just a quick disclaimer, unless I've worked with you personally or I know a little bit more about your personal limitations, understand that this is going to be very general, very broad. I cannot talk to a very specific ankle injury that has a plate and some pins if I don't know and haven't assessed you personally for it. But I definitely can help you out because in our group, in our Your Bariatric Transformation Academy, we have people who have had back surgery, knee surgery, hip surgery, ankle surgery. What else? We have people who are recovering from double knee bypass replacements. We have people who are actually have fractured their foot and are sitting in a boot as we speak. So lots and lots of things are going on because let's be honest, our bodies get beat up on a day-to-day basis. You know, it doesn't matter how old or young you are, chances are you haven't been treating your body as well as you could. If you ever see a child do a squat or skip or run, they actually have the beautifulest form because they haven't done any damage to their body yet. But as we get older, as we put extra pressure on it, as we have weight added, as we have weight loss, and then our legs and our limbs are still working, hard to work within the restrictions that we have. But with that being said, you can absolutely still get movement going on. As walking is simple for some, those who have knee or hip or foot or ankle issues, it isn't something that they might be able to do. So I don't ever want to say it's as easy as going for a walk because that's not always the case. So I want to really go over some of the ideas of what limitations are, what that means to you, what modifications that looks like for you, and as I said, interactively as you want. If you're joining and you have questions, ask me away. But I am going to go over kind of the basics that I see often, whether it's in our community or within our free community like our business page or our Recipes for Weight Loss Success group or Bariatrics Beyond the Honeymoon group. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about limitations as a whole. So limitations is something that basically stops you from doing an everyday activity. Now, I am what I would classify as a functional personal trainer, as my personal training certifications, which means I really focus on everyday activities, okay? So walking, putting groceries away, walking the dog, picking up your kids, getting on the floor with your grandkids, walking up and down the stairs, getting on and off the toilet, things that we do on a regular basis. And the reason that I say I'm a functional trainer is that I'm not one that works with, show muscles and, looking a certain way. It's all about making sure that we can move as long and as healthy for as possible, basically. So we want to be able to move comfortably without any pain. We also want to do everyday activities without risking injuring ourselves. So that's what I mean by functional. Okay, so functional means grabbing the 12 bags of groceries and bringing them in from the car because you're too lazy to go and do another trip. Okay, may not be the best choices, but that's what we do as a function in our everyday world. It's grabbing our children and throwing them around, grandchildren. You know, maybe what you do for work, you have to walk every day. You know, I want to ensure that you guys are able to do these things without worrying about injury and without worrying about, you know, putting more problems onto your body. Now, here's the thing. We've seen a lot of people, especially within the bariatric world, who have had injuries by doing the very simplest things, okay? Oftentimes I hear people say, you know, I walked down the stairs. I was picking up a sock. I was putting a piece of something, groceries, up onto the shelf, right? We don't often see the injuries happening or the limitations coming from, you know, hard sports or CrossFit or any of those things, because that's not where we're really seeing it. I do see that definitely in any type of exercise that can happen in the triathlon world, in the running world, that kind of stuff. We see that, but more often than not, we see the functional limitations or the injuries that come. So we want to reduce our risk of injury. We want to keep our limitations working for us instead of against us. So that is the most important part. So what does that look like from a limitation point of view? So we talk a lot about our joints, okay? So we have our shoulder joint, our elbow joint, wrist joints, we have finger joints for sure, hips, knees, ankles. Those are our joints, and those are the areas that tend to get hurt more often, injured more often, right? You can be pulling something and really hurt that shoulder. Your back is another one. Upper and lower back are big ones. Sorry, there's a lot of construction behind me, and I don't know. I'm hoping you guys can still hear me okay. So these are the things I want you to think about as you're going through this, right? If you have a little bit of a tender back when you first wake up in the morning, okay, movement, motion is lotion. You'll hear me say it over and over again, is really, really important. So even though sometimes we don't want to move, that movement usually is the best case scenario. We have one of our members who actually is going in for knee surgery. She's getting her knee replaced. And I know from my own experience with my mom, she got her knees replaced, her hip replaced. You know, movement was one of the first things they talked about. She had to go up and down the stairs so many times before she would even be allowed out of the hospital. So movement is a really important piece to our puzzle. It also allows the body to continue to move. You know, when you hurt a ligament or a muscle, right, a ligament or a tendon within your wrist or your ankle, whatever, movement is what actually gets it better. When we have to, you know, limit that by putting a boot or putting a guard on, you're actually going to find that your recovery will be slower. So that's the unfortunate part. But here's the thing. So shoulders, we see a lot of. Upper back, right? We hold that stress kind of in our back area. We definitely spend a lot of time on our computers and on our phones. So we're bringing our shoulders around where our head is being pulled down really in a wrong position. So our neck is getting pushed into our spine. Our tailbone gets hit when we're sitting for a long periods of time. Our knees and our ankles, our hips, especially if we have been carrying weight for long periods of time. All of these areas are at risk. If you haven't already, there is a possibility that it's coming. So we want to really try to limit that. Hi, Robin. So one of the things I really want you guys to think about is preventative versus after the fact, right? Is rehabilitation. So you have preventative, which is I'm going to do these things so that I can walk. I can, you know, be healthy for as long as I can without having an injury. Rehabilitation is after it's been done, how do I get back to my normal everyday self? And that could be different for everybody. Remember that, right? Normal everyday self for Robin is going for rides, you know, working out and doing those things. Good morning, Sandra. But normal everyday self, good example for Sandra, might be very different. It might just be going for a walk without her cane, which is something that she was really excited about. So your everyday is what we want to think about here. So as you work through trying to work some of these movements, I want you to remember that they're not for everybody. And as I said at the beginning, unless I've worked with you specifically or know very specifically about what your limitations are, you have to be very cautious, okay? So don't be like, well, Lindsay said if I do this. Well, no, I didn't say that. I said if you tend to have a little bit of a sore shoulder movement, definitely can help. But unless I've worked with you specifically, please don't just go randomly doing these things. But I do want to show you that it's possible, okay? And that's a really important part because for me, I've lived and breathed many injuries in my past with my exercise routines that I've done. I've done Ironman triathlons, I've done marathons, I've done these things. And so when you do them, you tend to deal with injuries. Now, oftentimes in the past, younger Lindsay would have dealt with injuries by sticking her head in the sand and pretending that there was nothing wrong. I tell you that doesn't work. And as I get older, I realize even more and more how much it doesn't work. As I said, we aren't very nice to our bodies on a regular basis. So how do we get through some of these things? So first and foremost, we work with something called FIT, frequency, intensity, tempo, and time. All right. So the more you change up the timing of your movement, the more you change up the frequency and the intensity of your movement, right? You hear words like high intensity interval training, which is HIIT training. That doesn't mean high impact. And that's really where some people get struggling and they are not sure how to do it, right? You can get an amazing workout in without 2 feet leaving the ground. You can get an amazing workout in sitting in this funky chair I'm sitting in. So you can do all of these things. I work with clients one-on-one personally who, as I said, one of my clients is wearing a boot because she fractured her foot. We do all her exercises from the chair. And she's still huffing and puffing. She's still working hard. She's still getting the workout in. So we have this thought in our head that if it's not all out crazy like you see on those Facebook ads that come bombarding at you that says, oh, only do 7 minutes. I'm not saying 7 minutes is bad. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is oftentimes they're showing you the highest level of the type of exercise where you're looking at it going, well, I can't do that. And that is what tends to stop us. Yes, low impact. Yes, Robin teaches. She's one of our instructors with the Sassy Evolution team. And she teaches mostly low impact stuff because she suffers from rheumatoid arthritis, RA, and has for years. Now, it doesn't stop her. And that's the beauty of it, right? You don't have to stop. You just have to modify what you're doing. Many of our members modify almost everything. Some of our members modify some things, and I would say most of our members modify a thing, right? Something. And that includes myself. If my shoulder's not feeling 100% or if my back's not feeling 100%, I modify what I'm doing in order to make sure that I don't hurt myself further. That's the key to remember: preventative versus rehabilitation. So those are the two we're going to think about. All right, so let's talk about a chair workout for a second. So you're at work, maybe not at work, maybe you're at home at work, and you tend to have a really sore back on a regular basis. Okay, that's, again, probably because of our posture. Gone are the days where women were told to wear, that book hat and walk around so that we're in perfect posture. It doesn't happen anymore. Oftentimes, like I said, if I have my choice, I literally have my foot up, and this would be kind of my choice of sitting position. Well, that's not very good for your body. So what I try to do is when I sit like this, great. And then I come into more of my posture position. So we take our shoulders, we bring them up, we push them back, and we bring them down. But look at that right there. You can see that this shoulder is a little bit lower than this shoulder. And that is my natural posture because I have something called a swimmer's shoulder, which actually provides some pain sometimes when I'm doing things. So again, that's one of my natural movements. So I bring my shoulders up, I push them back, see the difference in the height, and then I bring them down. Now, I'm aware of that, so I have to be very cautious of how I do things. So if I'm doing push-ups or if I'm doing any type of movement with my shoulders, I'm aware that this shoulder is a little bit lower than this shoulder. Okay, we also have muscle imbalances, and I want you to remember that. So if you look up here again at my shoulders, this side that's a little bit lower is my left side. My left side is my non-dominant hand. I am a right-hander, which means almost everything I do is with my right hand. So that makes sense that this side is a little bit stronger. Okay, so don't think that just because you have less strength in one side than the other that you can't do the work. We do a lot of individual arms or legs, right? So when you're doing a bicep curl, for example, you're doing one side and then the other. That means the one that's stronger and the one that's weaker is taking on its own work. So shoulders up, back, and down. Now, you can work this position for only so long before you're going to get tired. And that's because naturally, this is your position, or whatever your natural position is, right? So I want you just to really think about that shoulder up, back, and down position and hold it for as long as you can, and then go back to your regular position and then come back into it. The more you're able to do this, the more natural it feels. I spend a lot of time in my up, down, back, and down position, which we call our set position, but that doesn't mean it's still easy, right? If I sit for long periods of time, if I have clients that are back to back to back and I'm sitting instead of moving, I get a pain in my back. And it's basically like a stabbing pain just below my right shoulder blade. I know that's because I tend to sit like this regularly. And as I come up and work into this position, my body is like, whoa, what's happening here? So again, listen to your body, all the little niggles and wiggles and kind of whispers, as I call it, because those whispers will eventually turn into full-on screams if you're not paying attention. And so I always say, listen, listen, listen. Okay, so that's the first thing. Something as simple as at work or on the phone or at your computer, just give yourself a nice up, back, and down position. Now, the other thing you can do is really focus on the lower body without moving your chair. Without moving your body. So I'm going to use my chair. I'm going to show you guys here. If any comments that come up, just be careful. I won't be able to see them. I'll come back to them. So this is, say it's your office chair. Okay, you're going to come in. You're going to have a seat in that chair. Now, first of all, we're not going to sit all the way back in the chair because, well, that's not going to work too well with our set position. We're going to sit nice and strong, set position in our chair, right? And now, this chair is a little bit wonky because it's circular. But if I lift my legs, I'm working my quad muscles, right? Just the same as if I was doing a squat. Okay, if I lift my leg up here, I'm working my quad muscles, the same idea. So people tend to use those little weights that you can actually put on your ankles. You can work them here. Another one I do a lot with a lot of my clients is we actually lift and open. Lift and open. So it's tapping and tapping because you're really engaging that quad muscle, which is the four muscles in the front of your leg, without putting the pressure on if doing a lunge or doing a squat, because if your knees and your hips, your ankles can't handle that. Another one, which I really love, and I do a lot of this with our participants in our classes, is the squat on the chair, right? You're coming up here, squeezing, you're coming back down, sitting, coming up, squeezing, coming down, sitting. Now, you do this movement all the time, getting out of your chair, getting up and off the toilet. You do this so your body is used to it, but you're also taking away from any of the stress that's put on the knees without the chair. So that's another really, really good one that you can do. Now, also keep in mind, you can do any upper body movement from a chair, right? You can work into any movement to work the shoulders, the back, right? One of the ones I get to do with my client right now is we're going to tip from the hip here, and we're working into our lower back this way, right? So she no longer has to stand here with her broken foot and work. She gets to use the chair. So the chair is one of the things that is underutilized on such a regular basis because you can actually do some pretty good work on it. I've done a whole chair class where by the end of it, sweat's dripping and I'm boiling, and because we do marching, right? We do work in our core, we kick, we do all those things, and we always do it from the chair, so we don't have to worry about the pressure on the knees. You hear things like burpees and mountain climbers, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, I could never do them. Of course you can. You just don't do them from the floor. The floor is going to be the most challenging, but what about a wall? What about a chair? So for example, I don't have a wall here, but I have a pillar, because that's usual in a backyard. It's a pillar, so you can actually come into your pillar, so you can see me, right? And come into more of a plank position and work your mountain climbers from here, right? You don't have to get down to the floor. You can also do standing mountain climbers from here. And still get that heart rate pumping. You can do what we call our half burpee, where you come down, touch your toes, and reach the sky, come up on those skippy toes. Or if you are doing a little bit of higher impact, do a hop to it. So there are ways to modify pretty much everything, right? There's these trees coming into a push-up position. You can come in using the wall or like this pillar. You can do a wall sit, right? Coming in using the wall. I'm not sure how sturdy that is. I'm not going to sit on it, but you can do it that way. So there are ways to modify pretty much any exercise that you can try. Now, the hard part is, let's say you're press and play on a DVD or a workout video, you're going to YouTube, you may not know the modifications. And there comes the problem, because then if you're watching Superstar doing her, I don't know, I always go back to, if you've ever seen it on Facebook, it's a video where she's doing a burpee and then jumping over a swing. Burpee and then jumping over a swing. I can't do that. I've been knocked in the head. I've tried a few times. I've tripped over the swing. It's crazy. I can't get down fast enough. So just because you see somebody doing it and they make it look easy doesn't mean it's the right exercise for you. All right, no problem, Tony. She's going to watch the replay. Again, make sure when you replay, hashtag, let me know. So that's the important part. But it doesn't mean you can't do anything. The other really important thing is range of motion, okay, ROM. So range of motion, okay, for example, if I'm doing a shoulder raise and I come up to here and I feel that in my shoulder just a little bit, I can come to here and not feel that in my shoulder. So I'm still engaging those muscles without going as high. It's the same with our squats or lunges or any of those things. When you're doing them, you just don't have to go as low. Oftentimes, you'll see, CrossFit is a really good example of this. They go all the way down to the floor where like their butt's on the floor. I can't do that, so I'm not gonna ever ask somebody else to do it. But if you're coming into a squat, this is okay. And squeeze, right? You don't have to go any lower than that. You can just get low enough that you don't, hurt those knees or ankles, squeeze and engage. Same with the lunge. I say to people all the time, you can come into a lunge position, open up and push that heel to the ground, and you're going to get a stretch and a work in those glutes. Maybe you're going to come down here with a little bit of a bend. Maybe you're going to come down with a little bit more of a bend. The range of motion that you take is going to make a difference between the type of work you're doing. Okay, so now let's say I'm doing bicep curls, and I'm working my biceps, and all of a sudden when I get to here, my wrists hurt a little bit. Well, first of all, watch those wrists. We don't want to turn them in. But then, okay, let's stop here. Your wrists don't hurt as much anymore, so you're always going to try to catch them before they hurt and come back down. So it doesn't mean you have to stop doing an exercise altogether when you have your range of motion option, right? So range of motion gives you the ability to do the work without adding the extra pressure on the knee, the joints, so the elbows, the knees, the ankles, that kind of stuff. Hi, Jacqueline. So those are the important things I want you guys to remember. So oftentimes I hear people say, I can't do this, I can't do that, I don't like this, I don't like that. First of all, if you've never tried some of those things, how do you know you don't like them? That's my first question. I'm a big challenger on that. And then the other one too is, unless you've tried it with the modification, then really you don't know if it's going to hurt or not. Now, there is hands down things that you should not be doing if you have certain issues, okay? We work with people who have had 2 or 3 back surgeries. They still don't do a full burpee onto the ground, even though she's strong as hell and could do it. It's just not a good position for her to come back up and bend that back. You know, there are different types of exercises where form, you'll hear me say this if you ever come to one of our classes or come to a trial class, which you're more than welcome to try, is form is the most important thing. So if you're doing something and it's sloppy and you're not in the right place and your body's not in the right space, then there is absolute risk of injury. And that's why you see people get injured all the time. Oftentimes I hear people say, oh, I started this program. I mean, Beachbody On Demand is a really good one. I actually love their programming, but I don't feel like they give modifications for some of the most important things like shoulders and hips and knees. And so then you have these people who've never done workouts before jumping in on their step, for that matter, and doing all these crazy things. And of course they're going to get injured, which therefore means then they're going to stop and they failed at what they've done. So I want you to really try to look at the options for you. Okay, there are YouTube videos in a chair. There are. You know, our programs, obviously we love them. We offer a lot of modifications that way. But when you have the live and interactive feeling that our programs do with our classes, is then you can turn around to Robin, myself, Ben, Christina, Nadine, and say, hey, my shoulder does not love that. Is there something else I can do instead? And we're like, absolutely. The way I say it is that there is something else you can always do. It may not be perfect to what was going on in class. I teach a dance fit, which goes to music. It may not even work in the music, but it's better for your body to listen to it than to try to push yourself beyond. And we struggle with this, guys. And I'm going to finish off here. We struggle with listening to our bodies sometimes because we don't want to feel left out. We don't want to feel embarrassed. We don't want to not do what they're saying. We don't want to not get in a good workout. But I'm promising you that if you do some of these moves with the modifications, you're going to get a great workout. And Robin, again, is super, super strong. She works really, really hard, but sometimes her RA is like, nah. You don't get to move like that today. But she still comes, she still moves her body, because ultimately, with RA specifically, you are doing the movement, which is better than not doing the movement. Yes, Robin is dealing with some shoulder issues, but she's not missing her classes. She's not missing PT, because guess what? You can modify, right? We have many members who have had shoulder injuries. We've had shoulder operations. We've had knee injuries. We've had neck operations. And the truth of the matter is, you can always do something. It's just finding out what that something is and using your limitations as a stepping stone to get to that next level instead of an excuse on why you can't do it. Okay, so guys, if you have any questions about your own limitations, if you're not sure, if you want to come try one of our classes, if you want to speak to me more, again, I do one-on-one personal training. Absolutely, I can work with you. But if you want to try one of the classes, if you want to ask some questions about your own limitations, this is the opportunity to say enough is enough. I may be limited by doing this, this, and this, but I know that there's an opportunity for me to do all the other things. Right? And I say all the other things because there really is other things that you can do. As I said, I've trained clients who have broken foot, has broken her foot, has had operations. We have people who have just recently had ankle surgeries, knee surgeries. But guess what? You can do all our upper body or lean and mean classes from a chair. So there's ways to get around some of these limitations. You know, I want to stress so much that your limitations, whatever they are, doesn't give you a reason to not do it, but gives you more of a reason to do it. We want to live long. Longevity is probably a key to our success. We want to be pain-free. We want to be injury-free. So listen to that body. All the little whispers will tell us things in order to stop the screaming. But when the scream starts, we still can work with that too. You know, working with physiotherapists is amazing. It really is. But a lot of the stuff that they do, you usually have to go do it at home anyways. I know Robin was talking to Ben, who works with her as a trainer, and they're talking about doing some band work, right? And doing some band work to really help that shoulder. That's the thing. You can always do something. So if anything, take that away from me today, guys, that you can do something. Chair is amazing opportunity for doing some things if you have some limitations. Come and try out a class if you haven't already tried one. Because I know you'll love them and I know you can work within those limitations, because movement is the key. Remember, we want to try to prevent, and then if not prevent, rehabilitate. And both of those include movement with your limitations using modifications. Guys, have a fantastic Monday. Get some movement in today, whatever it may be. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And I will talk to you guys real soon. Take care. Bye.